Hey Ryan and Dave, it's Jack with Onboard Landscaping here to walk you through the design. I'm really happy with how things turned out. There's a lot to get into, so this might be a long video. I don't know. I'm just starting it right now, so we'll find out. So let's get straight into things. First off, we've got the berm. The berm would kind of curve around this front tree, and where it tapers off here, I'd like to be about, say, to my right would be 2 feet from the lot line. So it kind of curves around this front tree, comes over here, levels out for a second, and then curves around this third tree. Here you can see that there's a little bit of a wall here. You can also see in the visual representation what would happen if we didn't have a wall. Because if we're trying to berm up around the driveway here, we have limited space. We have enough space, but I would like to berm around this tree and put in a wall around the tree. I would like a 2-foot diameter flat space around the tree, and by putting in the wall, you would be able to achieve the berm and also the health of the tree at the same time. In terms of the depth of the berm, we would be about 11 to 14 feet at our widest points. We would be 1.25 to 1.5 feet in elevation, and that gives us a really cool effect where we have border plant, middle plant, evergreen backdrop, so it gives you this tiered effect, which is really cool. I also tried to incorporate a lot of different blooming times. For instance, you've got this variegated iris will bloom first thing, this variegated iris, catmint, lilies, that'll all bloom first thing in the year. Lady's mantle a little bit later, Taurus spirea, hydrangea. You've got a lot of different bloom times here. There are a lot of perennials. I didn't want to add a crazy amount because this is quite a few plants. So, but I think I came to a good middle ground here. So now that we've gone over the dimensions of the berm and kind of the effect that it has on the planting area, we can go over the actual plant selections themselves. Another thing to mention about the berm too is that it's absolutely essential for this spot. To get a healthy root system for all of these evergreens, we're going to have to bring in quite a lot of soil to make sure that these root systems are healthy and these plants can grow. If you just did this whole design without any added soil, I guarantee you'd probably get a 50% failure rate, most of which would come from your evergreen elements, which are the expensive ones. So let's get into the plant selection. So at this corner where you said those car lights come in, we've got an actual quote-unquote privacy screen tree. This is a Techni arborvitae, does really well in shady areas. It's kind of the same effect as like an emerald green arborvitae, but like I said, does better in shade and is generally much more hardy than emerald green. Here you've got 5 catmint. That is your border plant for in front of these arbs. Here you've got Hicks yew. Hicks yew is a pillar-shaped yew that is really good for privacy screens and shady areas. Super hardy. So yeah. And then after that, we've got these Desi yews. These are more of a globe-shaped yew, 4 to 5 feet in height, 4 to 5 feet in width. I like this because you've got tall, medium, shorter, but this is a wider part in the berm, a bigger part in the berm. And you've got this big tree here, so it's not a huge area, or it's not an area where we need a really big evergreen, I don't think. And then we kind of changed up the continuity here with some Green Mountain boxwoods. There's 5 of them here, and I think that's kind of necessary because as you're driving by, you've got, just about the right amount of privacy in that location. And this die pattern where it's, back, forward, really gives it another added layer of depth. And the last plants for the berm are these Arctic fire dogwoods. I like these because they have an added effect after the leaves fall off, and they look really cool while they're in bloom during the summer and spring season. Let's go over the perennials. We've got 3 catmint here, 3 variegated iris, 3 smooth hydrangea. We've got 3 tor yew, more variegated iris. We've got a big old bed of lady's mantle here. Really cool plant. I love lady's mantle. Here we've got more variegated iris, and we've got 5 red lilies. So that's our front drop. And then we've got, and another cool thing about this is you've got border plant, middle drop, and then on the other side you've got border plant, middle drop, back drop. It's all got a multi. So it's tiers on both sides, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So here we've got 3 blue leaf hostas, and this is one of my favorite elements because we get a little bit more sun as we come out this way. This does well in partial shade as well. It's called a pagoda dogwood. I love these plants because it's a flowering, it's a smaller flowering tree, but it blooms for much longer. Like where if you kind of compare it to like a crab apple will bloom for say a week and a half and then look kind of scraggly for the rest of the year. This blooms for like I think 3 weeks to 4 weeks or something crazy like that, and it looks generally really good, kind of like a Japanese maple almost. It's got a little bit of you know elegance to it, whereas a crab apple can kind of look just a little junky after it's done blooming. Another element I like about this is using prairie smoke as a ground cover. Really cool. Let me know what you think. We could do prairie smoke, pachysandra, periwinkle, maybe even woodland phlox. So let me know what you think about that. Another thing I like about this is this big old bed of sweet black-eyed Susan. Another really cool plant. 3 more smooth hydrangeas, super hardy hydrangea, does well in shade, especially because I'm considering the fact that there could be wildlife effects. I want to use really hardy plants here. On this tree and this tree, you've got a ring of blue-leaved hostas here and a ring of variegated iris here. I like that effect. I know that hostas do well around perimeters of trees, and that also, perimeter of tree isn't the prettiest thing in the world, so having a nice ring of hostas around it really gives it a nice effect. 5 more catmint as a border plant, 5 wild geranium as a border plant. We've got 5 all gold Japanese forest grasses. These are super cool, and I'll put a picture up on the screen. You don't really see these very often. I think they're kind of starting to come into popularity. I'm not sure. Maybe I just have a secret that nobody else does. 5 bleeding heart here. More turtle head accenting here, kind of like it's accenting here. I don't know what happened with those two, but I'll have to fix that. And then we've got a bed of foam flower here. I like this as a border plant as well. 3 more smooth hydrangeas behind these arborvitaes. And lots of cool contours. Like you got that contour around the tree, that contour around the tree. Yeah, really, really cool plant selection. I think I did really well with choosing plants that are just going to thrive in this area. Spent a lot of time figuring that out. So, yeah. And then I'll move on to the house in a little bit. We've got the walkway. The walkway is 4 feet in diameter. The interior block is a Brussels block by Unilock in a limestone color. And you've got a town hall border brick in a 4x8 dimension. Really, really cool, really, really clean. And then the step would be a ledgestone tread with a Brussels by Unilock retaining wall block to match exactly the interior block of the walkway. Boulder stud over here, boulder stud over here. Those would be the 2 that are kind of up towards, I can't remember where they are. I have pictures of them though. Here we've got a Chilton Weather Ridge wall. Really simple, minimal, really cool colors to kind of accent the walkway and the house. It's got reds, oranges, maybe even a little bit of like charcoaly blues in there too. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's the hardscapes. There's one more hardscape over here. We would be using a natural stone with a polymeric stone dust joint. I'll put the products up on the screen for this one as well. And now we can go into planting. So more plants. Here we've got 5 green gem boxwoods as a backdrop. And then now we get more sun on this front, so I think this is a good time. We're dealing with shade on most of the property, even in most of this area, and back here. We get a little bit of sun here along the front. so we can kind of utilize the sun. We've got more variegated iris, more catmint, 3 um, dazzleberry sedums. Like I said, these are white in the design, but these would be ruby red hydrangeas. They would not be white. 3 more boxwoods as backdrop here. This is an indicator for Mother Mary here, so that's pretty cool. Here you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of dianthus. Really gives representation of the effect that I'm trying to get out of all these dianthuses. They're also partially evergreen, and you'll see like these oak leaf hydrangeas will last late into the fall, but having these green gem boxwoods is also really handy. So once everything actually dies, you'll have something here to look at. Here you've got hydrangeas as a backdrop for this window. Really cool because these are bobo hydrangeas. They aren't going to get super tall, so they'll kind of poke up above the windows, but not, overgrow the area. Here you've got a point of interest and a dwarf Japanese maple. Here again you've got more gold Japanese forest grasses to kind of poof up over that wall there. And here with that boulder stud here, I like the idea of carpet sedum here, and then 4 different variations of actual stone crop, sedum. A patch of lady's mantle here to kind of end this section. Here, I know it's going to be incredibly difficult to get stuff to grow just based off of looking at the spot. I like the idea of putting in an aluminum border and making this a ground cover pachysandra bed. Along the driveway, we've got prairie dropseed, a notoriously hardy plant that does well with salt runoff from the driveway, etc. More variegated iris. I really like having just the variegated iris everywhere because it's going to be one of the first things you see. Really cool leaf structure, really cool flowers. Over here we've got more bleeding heart continuity between the front and over here. Here we've got 3 baby blue-leafed hostas to kind of be a border plant for in front of that boulder stud, which I like. Here we've got more variegated hostas to encapsulate this tree near the front door. This I like. We could even maybe put some of those field stones that you have laying elsewhere. If you've got any like medium to larger sized boulders, you could put them around here. I like this Canadian wild ginger as like a ground cover in this spot because it's got this really cool glossy look. Over here we have 3 more lady's mantle, more bobo hydrangeas for underneath this window here, 5 more green gem boxwoods to kind of add a privacy, the notion of privacy in this spot. More turtle head as a border plant for this walkway. A couple more irises over here to kind of poke up, to have something that pokes up on this side earlier in the year. And an oak leaf hydrangea that would be different than the 2 in the front. This one would be more of like a pillar shaped oak leaf because it's in a smaller area. I wouldn't want to put something that would get 5 feet by 5 feet. I'll send some renders for the stoop if we want to do like a tile overlay, a blue stone or some type of natural stone. Otherwise, I think that might be all I have for you. Oh, one thing I wanted to do here too is put some new soil in this planter and add some of those carpet sedums in there too. Maybe a cool idea. Let me know what you think. Thanks.